Carson Beck is done for the season. He's out. He's over. Surgery needed. Oh, hold on. Hold on. What? I'm hearing this. No one knows for certain, and there hasn't been word definitively, and it hasn't been done with surgery yet. Oh no.
Oh.
Interesting development happening next. Locked on Bulldogs.
You are Locked on Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Locked on Bulldogs podcast. I am Daniel. He is Clint. We are, of course, the Locked on Bulldogs, and happy to have you here. Excited to be back another day talking about all things Georgia football. Today's episode brought to you by the College Football Playoff on TNT and Max. You can watch it there, all of the action. More on them in a moment. Thanks for being a first listener, for making us your first listen of the day. Thanks for being an everydayer, for making sure that you are here each and every day. And let's jump into the topic for today, Clint, which is a lot of ambiguity, I would say. And normally, like, trying to do a whole podcast on ambiguity,
right,
is a pretty tough hill to climb because there's not really anything to say because, again, the situation is ambiguous unless, Clint, the ambiguity itself is a story.
See,
and
this is where it gets interesting.
I think for Georgia, as we move closer and closer, obviously college football playoff begins tomorrow. If you're listening to this on a Thursday, which is when it comes out, Indiana, Notre Dame play on Friday tomorrow.
Yeah.
Rest of the game's on Saturday. We're inching closer toward game week, which again, game week is a bit, of a stretch because we're dealing with like a 10-day window now until the game. But we're inching closer to a game week situation. Mm-hmm. And the further we move along, the more the ambiguity around the Georgia quarterback situation, I think, becomes a story. Because initially, yes, of course, all we had were rumors and reports. We had people who were kind of speculating. You had people who were coming out with, they write sources in all caps and then a colon, and then they write something. Which, by the way, you should never take any of that seriously. Like, if it says sources and then it says something, that is not something that you're going to want to take to the bank.
But what if I just make up a source and I don't have to say the source in order for me to hide behind a paywall and for you to give me money for me to speculate wildly about my own thoughts, Daniel?
I'm not going to name the Georgia specific site that does that.
Okay.
But chances are you probably already know it. And so you want to be careful about anything like that. And so the later we get, obviously Kirby Smart is not talking to the media. Obviously Kirby Smart, listen to me. Kirby Smart I would be shocked if he divulges any information about
you're going to get this. How's Carson Beck's injury? He's progressing. Still finding a lot. We don't know too much. Saw him around the facility today. He's getting some work in, but it's progressing.
We feel good about both guys. We feel good about our situation at quarterback.
You know what's wild about this? What's really wild about every single person that was mocking Kirby, who has said the statement, if we needed him to go in, he could have gone in. Everybody in the world has.
We needed him to go in, and Carson Beck did go in for one play.
Like, he ain't lying.
Yeah. It's been sort of, here's the thing, Clint. It has been almost unanimously reported that Gunnar Stockton is it, right? And we're writing articles and we're publishing things and we're talking. You and I have talked on this podcast. Like, all right, well, now what does Georgia have now that we know that Gunnar Stockton is it? Which is all well and good. Because Gunnar Stockton probably is the quarterback for Georgia heading into this game.
Most likely.
But to say that that's definitive, Clint, would probably be an overreaction because I haven't heard anything definitive about Carson Beck. I haven't read any reports from a surgeon about I haven't read anything about Carson Beck and his plans to prepare for the NFL draft. I haven't read anything about what his agent is saying about a timetable for recovery to put the minds of NFL GMs at ease and let them know that his client will be ready and able to participate in drills in April and will be ready to go through the combine and will be ready for next August when NFL preseason rolls around. I'm not reading or hearing any of that, Clint. And if that were definitively what's happening, I would think by now I might have heard some of that.
Because you would have, exactly to your point, Carson Beck and his agent would be assuring teams today, right now, that come
It's the
camp,
guy's whole future.
he's ready to go today. Here's the plan. Surgery was successful. We're gonna have this regiment. He's working with the team still. He's in the facility. He's rehabbing with the trainers there, or he's got his own doctor in his own camp and he's back at home in Florida. These would be the things, because the draft in injury news is not that far away. And he has a good likelihood of going somewhere to a team that needs a quarterback, or at least one that can compete. This young man owes nothing to Georgia now. If everything was done, if everything was over, he doesn't owe it to Georgia. He can be asked, but it's always been said Kirby develops guys and he wants them to go to the NFL. It's better for Georgia. Let me tell you this right now. It's better for Georgia to have Carson Beck get highly graded and higher on the draft boards than it is for Georgia to try to keep him quiet right now. Now, can both be kind of played? Can the fence be played on both sides? Yes, it can, which is why I think we're seeing the ambiguous statements and not a lot of definitive, because I actually do truly, honestly think it's not definitive that he is for sure done for the season. Again, Carson Beck's agent would come out and say something. Not the case. Now, this is really interesting for Georgia fans outside of wanting to root for Carson Beck in the NFL, clearly because of Gunnar Stockton and what that means for Mike Bobo and he heading into these playoff matchups and how do we prepare well for that. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about what that looks like. Maybe even give a prediction, what we kind of, if gun to our head, what we think might happen with it, what we think the injury is, because that's just fun speculation. Because Daniel, developments always are interesting. We're going to come back to that. But first, I want to let you know about college football on TNT. College football is fantastic, and right now the playoffs are here. And guess what? You can watch every bit of the action because this 12-team format is exciting. It is thrilling, and it just starts right out of the gates.
Are we going to get Charles Barkley on this broadcast? That's what I want to know. Am I going to get EJ and Charles and Shaq and Kenny on the halftime show? If I don't, TNT, I need more from you. I need more from you. That's right.
Oh my gosh.
Give the people what they want.
You're going to give me a big nooner at noon, and I'm going to get
I need
Chucky.
EJ. I need EJ.
If you give me EJ, what? Get him in the booth today, TNT. My gosh, absolutely. It'd be fantastic. So SMU plays a game early on, as well as then right after that, Clemson takes on Texas. It's going to be thrilling. It's going to be exciting. We both anticipate SMU putting up a fight and Clemson putting up a fight against Texas later on in the day. But right now, TNT and over on True TV and Max, all the places that you're going to have to watch college football right now, TNT and Max, watch college football today.
So, Clint.
Yes, sir.
We don't know definitively what's going to happen with Carson Beck in terms of the quarterback situation. Again, we think the most likely outcome is that Gunnar Stockton's going to be the quarterback in the Sugar Bowl versus whoever we play, Notre Dame or Indiana.
Correct.
But a little birdie told me, Clint, that if Georgia were to win the Sugar Bowl, they wouldn't play another football game for 10 more days after that.
Okay.
And if they were to win that game, they wouldn't play another football game for 10 more days after that. Which means that this, I think, is why you have not seen a timetable set. Because all of this speculation about, well, what would his agent say and what would they be telling to NFL draft? All of this is predicated around the fact that it is a foregone conclusion that there's no chance, there's a 0.0% chance that Carson Beck is available on January the 20th, which is when the last game of the college football season will be in Atlanta. And I'm telling you that the fact that you haven't heard any of that yet gives me, I would say, confidently, that means that the percentage chance per Carson Beck and this Georgia medical staff, the percentage chance that Carson Beck could be ready to go on January 20th is above 0. I'm not saying that it's 50. I'm not saying that it's 100. But I think it's above 0. Not that he might be ready to go for the Sugar Bowl. They may have already ruled him out for the Sugar Bowl.
Possibly.
We don't know. He may not be ruled out for the Sugar Bowl. We also don't know that. But it's not like 20 days means nothing in terms of a recovery.
20 days. Interesting.
And so if the percentage chance is above 0 that he's ready to go on January the 20th, it is absolutely in Georgia's best interest to not say anything right now. And what do you know? Georgia has not said anything right now. I mean, there's more speculation, Clint, that Carson Beck might come back to Georgia for another year.
Correct.
Than there is that he might play football again this year. And yet, no one has definitively said that he's out for the year. Now, again, Kirby Smart could come out in his very next press conference and definitively say that Carson Beck is out for the year. But at the time of this recording, none of that has been said. Correct. Which just feels like we've gone on a while without those words being uttered for it not to mean something.
We have news of transfer portal wide receivers on campus for Georgia. We have information of other players that might be leaning into the portal. There is noise happening around. And right now, what we're working on, Kirby said so himself. He said, we're working on ourselves until we know an opponent. Now, is he actually doing film study on both these teams?
Yes, scouting both these teams, of course.
Of course he is. I understand. However, do I believe him that there is a large component of practices right now that are taking the worst things we do and elevating them and getting them better? I do think that as well.
Gosh, I hope so.
I really, really hope so. So two things can be true at the same time. Kirby Smart is focusing on that. What I'm trying to say is there's a lot of room for news to be out there. And the fact that we're not getting any hint on this whatsoever from anybody, but yet we know when people are talking about future plans of coming in or going out, other injury news. We've known about Etienne being out for some time before he came back with his rib injury. We knew he wasn't going to play in a couple of those games. We're getting news. Nothing on this front. And you said 20 days. Okay, again, my mathing is hard, so I apologize. Okay, but you go from December 7th SEC championship, you go to the 31st and 1st of playoff games in which we're playing in those. That's a sizable amount of days following that. Right? 24 days following that SEC championship, nearly 3 weeks. Well, wouldn't you know that UCL injuries that do not require surgery, that are even grade 3, that you hear a pop, you have a strain, pain is part of it. The treatment is ice, flexibility, strengthening back up, rest for 3 weeks. And at 3-week mark, you reassess and you find out if it's non-surgical therapy, what you can do with range of motion and grip. Now, they talked about him being unable to grip a football in the locker room. That's the thing that the UCL and people have said, well, maybe it's a shoulder. Who cares?
Sure.
Because if it doesn't require surgery, it means it's not torn. If it was torn, guess what? He'd be holding a tennis ball and his arm would be like this, and he'd be strengthening that in a sling. But it's not. It could be that 3-week mark you said, Daniel, from the time of injury.
3 weeks from the time of injury, which is well more than enough time.
Plenty of time. And then win that game, the next game following Daniel is more than 3 weeks following the initial injury. We're well into a month after the case. What we're trying to say is, please do not be definitive on anything right now, Georgia fan. And please don't do sky is falling and Carson is our savior. All of these things, this is more than 2 things. All of these things are true. I feel great with our team going into the playoff run with Gunnar Stockton as our quarterback. You saw the excitement and the juice that he brought. I'm fine riding with him. I've seen good Carson Beck at the final stretch of the season, heading into the SEC championship, and what he was able to do for this offense. And I feel great with him leading the charge at quarterback for us. And I don't want any one of them to play above the other. I'm fine with both being healthy on this roster and heading into the playoff run. And so I'm not going to make a determination on anything. I'm not going to hang my hat on anything. I'm not going to like those bozos in the national media. And if you follow a national media guy for your team's coverage, shame on you. Like,
it's tough
because they're ranking Gunnar Stockton and guys saying, well, I don't know about Georgia with Gunnar Stockton at the helm. I do. The team's still the same. Stop it.
Y'all, we're going to talk about that in the third segment. What does Georgia actually have with Gunnar Stockton? What does all this speculation ultimately lead to? It leads to us discussing what are Georgia's chances to actually move forward. And a lot of that has to do with what do we have in both guys, as you mentioned. So we're going to talk about that in the third segment coming up. But first, these.
These are in fact FanDuel, FanDuel.com. Get over there right now and bet on games. Daniel, I don't know if you understand this. FanDuel's a sports book in which they will give you a game, a matchup, point spread, over, under, and you get to guess which one of those. And if you are good at that guessing, if you're good at making an educated decision, they give you money if you get it right. It's very fantastic. All sports book.
It is fantastic.
The official sports book of Locked On Bulldogs and Locked On Podcasts everywhere. Right now, you go over there, you wager $5, you win $5 in your bet, and you get $150 in bonus bets straight back into your account. Go make hay bowl season wise. And right now, here's just a little thing. Whatever the spread is in Washington State game, go bet against Washington State. They don't have a head coach, an OC, a DC, or 10 offensive starters. Go. Today. Make it. FanDuel.com, the official sports book of Locked On Bulldogs, Locked On Podcasts. Everywhere, $5 bet gets you $150 in bonus bets, but that's not all. Also, Prize Picks. Prize Picks, download the app today. Use promo code Locked On College and get $50 instantly when you play a $5 lineup. This is how it is. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy, straight to you. It's great. It's fantastic. We don't have to do anything like go season long with all of these teams that an injury derails everything you're doing. Prize Picks puts their members first. All withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When picks hit, I get my money as quick as in 15 minutes. And if you sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5, you don't even have to win to receive $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. I like guaranteed money. Daniel and I do. We're over there quite often. And this week, looking at Jared Goff for more than 230 passing yards, or Barkley for more than 1 touchdown, Travis Kelce more than 70 receiving yards. How about Brock Bowers over 1,000 yards receiving on the season? How about him getting over 23 or 29 yards, whatever it takes to have him do that? Download the app today. Use promo code Locked On College. Get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today. Use code Locked On College. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game.
All right, Clint, we mentioned
I miss him.
What does Georgia have in both these quarterbacks? Because, again, the reason that this would be a bigger deal, and you said it, the tendency is always going to be that you're going to jump in line with like the national media narrative, which is that Georgia can't win anything because of their quarterback situation. Like, I mean, Georgia is not going to be able to, and I mean, you are hearing more and more people say that sort of thing. Kirby Smart gets mocked all the time for playing this "nobody believes in us" card, but just watch and see. Just look at people's brackets as they come out. Like not just random people, but like national media college football guys. Like Todd McShay, for example.
Like Todd McShay.
Todd McShay has Notre Dame beating Georgia in the Sugar Bowl on January the 1st. Look, more and more of these are going to start to come out, and you're going to see people. It's going to become a very trendy pick to take whoever wins this game this weekend, Indiana or Notre Dame, to take them to go ahead and take another step and beat Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. You could take that approach if you're a Georgia fan and say, well, we lost Carson Beck, and so the sky is falling. Or you could take the approach that is probably more likely if you're a Georgia fan, which is, thank God Carson Beck is injured. He was terrible, and now we finally have the better quarterback who's our quarterback. In which case, all of this conversation that we've had, you're probably already in the comments angrily commenting that this is ridiculous, that we're speculating, blah, 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 blah. All because deep down, you don't want Carson Beck to be healthy enough to play. You don't want him to come back because you would rather roll the dice with Gunnar Stockton because that's who you think gives Georgia the best chance to win. And listen, you're entitled to that opinion. What I'm here to tell you, and what Clint told you in the last segment, is that your opinion on that matter,
good,
and my opinion on that matter,
it's wild,
are weighted exactly the same in terms of how much they matter, and that is absolute zero. None. 0%. The opinion that you are looking for is that of Kirby Smart and the coaching staff. And if they have options, that is better than having fewer options. So that's like a 90% healthy Carson Beck versus Gunnar Stockton, it's better for them to have to make that decision and determine who gives Georgia the best chance to win versus not having that option. So ultimately, you don't want to fall on either side of that fence. No. You need to, as a sensible fan, just kind of ride the middle and say, it's uncomfortable. I don't really know what the quarterback situation is, but I think either way will be fine. If Carson Beck is out, as most are speculating that he is, if that turns out to be the actual case, then I think Georgia's going to be fine. And I do. And if Carson Beck isn't definitely done for the season, which I'm not sure how you're going to justify an opinion that says he definitely is. If he's not, then I'm okay with that as well. Ultimately, Clint, I think, and we'll talk more about this as we talk about this specific matchup next week, but ultimately, I think you get two slightly different things from these two quarterbacks, but I think they're more similar than they are different.
Yes.
And I think that's the part that maybe people aren't quick enough to realize. I think when they see Gunnar Stockton, people think one of two things. I think they think if they're team Carson Beck, they think Gunnar can't throw it down the field like Carson can. He can't throw it like Carson can.
By the way, that same person that says that also said in the same breath last year that Brock Vandegrift had a better deep ball than Carson Beck. Those are the same people, by the way.
I'm sorry. Just so we're clear on the Venn diagram, that's the same group of people that said JT Daniels far superior to this guy right here.
Stetson Bennett, the greatest college football player of all time. Yeah. No, you're right.
Okay, same people. So if you're team Carson Beck, you're saying, well, Gunnar can't throw it down the field. I'm just here to tell you, categorically false. Gunnar Stockton is a passer. He throws the ball very well. He's going to develop chemistry with these wide receivers over the next few weeks. He has done that, and he will continue to do that. He's going to be put in the best positions in order to see the field, but he's going to be able to make the throws. And then if you're team Gunnar Stockton, I think you're saying kind of the same dumb thing, but from the opposite side, which is, well, Gunnar just gives us this dynamic running ability. Like he just can do things in the running game.
Because Carson Beck didn't have any plays this year. By his legs single-handedly kept drives and therefore games alive for us. Not one time did he do that.
Like massive third down conversions that Carson Beck picked up with his legs. Like times when he got out of the pocket, evaded pressure, avoided a sack, and made a positive play out of nothing. Not a play where he lowered his shoulder, hit a guy in the mouth.
Here we go. Okay.
And single-handedly changed the trajectory of a football game that was off the rails, out of control, slipping away from the University of Georgia. We've seen Carson Beck do that throughout the year. Now, is Gunner a more dynamic runner than Carson Beck? Yeah, he probably is. And you saw what he could do running the football in the SEC Championship. Do I think that if Gunner Stockton is running the offense in the college football playoff, you're all of a sudden going to see Haynes King in the triple option at Georgia? No. Why would I think that? That's not what he was recruited to Georgia to do.
Was probably because all the other triple option teams and heavy run teams that are in the playoffs, Daniel, like that have a quarterback whose only ability is that.
Oh, yeah. No, there's not. There's not. Jalen Miller didn't make the playoff, so that's not valid. They finished 13th, which is one less.
By the way, T's and P's to Alabama. I didn't know this. The athletic director has come out and said, Daniel, it's a shame that all these schools are out here throwing around millions of dollars for these kids. It's just unfair.
It's a dang shame. Nick Saban tried to warn us, and that's why he ran away and hid in Pat McAfee's shed.
By the way,
that's why he did that. While Bill Belichick just in front of God and everybody just said, "I'll take it. I can handle it."
I am used to shady business practices to win things. Yes.
What do I need to do? Deflate the football? No, I just have to give a kid some money. Okay.
Oh, that's easy.
All right.
I have to turn a blind eye to what my owner is doing behind closed doors.
Alabama fans.
Poor little pesky Alabama. My gosh. Whatever. However, will they rebuild? Oh, I know. Don't hire Kalen.
Maybe they'll raise some money. To be fair, Clint, and you're not being fair.
I'm not. Unequivocally, I'm not.
They tried like hell to not hire Kalen DeBoer. They offered multiple other people the job, and they all turned him down, including Mike Norvell.
Oh, no.
Michael Norvell turned them down. Okay. So, look, Georgia fans, Georgia's going to be fine at quarterback. We're going to be fine at quarterback. Okay. But it is interesting what's going on. Clint and I will be back with more on this Georgia football team. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you are here every day, and we will see you guys next time.
We'll see you guys then.